Hi there. Where have all the rosaceans gone? Well, they've gone to social media platforms. And so this video is about rosacea and social media platforms, where all the rosaceans have gone. And it's an in-depth, deep dive into this subject. Before we look at some of the data on this that I, I found, let's go back in time and look at the history of the internet and rosacea before the advent of social media. In 2004, the RRDI was founded by rosacea sufferers with the motive to form a grassroots patient advocacy group that could have a united voice for the medical community to understand how rosaceans feel and what we want done about rosacea, especially with regard to research. Now, does the medical community take seriously any patient advocacy group for rosacea, particularly with social media or any organization? Is there one? Okay, I'll let you think about that question. But back then in 2004, what was interesting is two groups were formed that formed nonprofit patient advocacy groups. And I talk about that in the history of the RRDI if you want to watch that video. It involved David Pascoe forming one nonprofit called the Rosacea Research Foundation, and then we formed the RRDI. Now, David used an HTML website for his nonprofit, and we opted for the Envision PowerBoard platform, which is a forum platform software. So the RRDI formed the same year as the RRF. What happened to the RRF was they dissolved by the end of 2005. And what's interesting is they're like a gem of showing what rosaceans can do if they're united. They gathered $16,000 in a few months. And then at the end of 2005, they gave all that money. And here's pictures of two checks that they sent to the National Rosacea Society. Now, what was ironic about this is that the reason we formed these patient advocacy groups for rosacea, nonprofits, was we didn't like at that time how the National Rosacea Society was spending its money. Very little on rosacea research. And we thought we could do a better job. And what was ironic, they gave the money to why we formed our own nonprofits. So, with the RRDI, we started out with the Envision PowerBoard, and then it turned into, now it's called the Envision Community. This is forum platform software. It's different from social media platforms. And we eventually hosted our entire website on the Envision Community servers. And the RRDI continued for 16 years. We're going to reach almost 17 years. And in that 17 years, the RRDI has collected about $15,500, or about $900 a year. And we did spend about $6,000 on education grants that were sponsored by Galderma. And then we did spend a significant amount of money on publishing one journal. And then the rest of the money was spent on just keeping the website going and paying registration fees, because it does take money to run a nonprofit. Even though all of us are volunteers, nobody's getting any money. The expenses are for just to keep this thing going. Okay, we don't do that. We don't do what the National Rosacea Society does. Look at the way they spend their money, and you tell me the difference. You look at it. So we do know that our website gets a lot of traffic because we have Google Analytics. We have about 4,000 visits each month. But these ones who come to our website don't engage. They don't post. Very few join, and we are simply not getting donations. So back in 2004, there was much interest in Rosaceans getting together and volunteering and trying to do something about rosacea. But now, what do? They go to social media. Now, why did that happen? Well, around the same time, 2004, that's when Zuckerberg began Facebook. And social media took off like a rocket. Facebook took off, and the forum-style platform, even though it still exists, Facebook exceeded all expectations and became the #1 social platform, followed by Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, and the list goes on. Right now, according to Search Engine Journal, in 2020, Facebook has 2.45 billion users. Instagram has 1 billion. Reddit, 430 million. Snapchat, 360 million. Twitter, 330 million. Pinterest, 320 million. LinkedIn, 310 million. Those are the top ones. There are other social media platforms. So let's analyze, where have the rosaceans gone with these social media platforms? Let's look at Facebook, which is absolutely where most of the rosaceans have gone. When you look at Facebook, you can find the National Rosacea Society, which is a 501(c) nonprofit, without a doubt has more followers than anybody. 39,000 likes and 41,000 follow this Facebook social media group. Okay? And let's talk about this nonprofit. This nonprofit for rosacea has received millions of dollars in donations, but over the 20-year period, they've spent 10% of all of its donations on rosacea research. 90% is spent on everything else. Now, what did they spend it on? 60% of the donations are spent on 2 private contractors that are owned by one of the board members. You can validate and confirm all of this by reading Form 990, which is by law required by nonprofits to fill out and make it public. If you look at the ones who are running the National Rosacea Society, it's comprised of 3 businessmen, 2 dermatologists, and 1 registered nurse, and 1 medical editor. If you want to find out more about the National Rosacea Society, go to their website and investigate this for yourself. This nonprofit, without a doubt, is heavily sponsored by pharmaceutical companies, which is shown on its website. If you just scroll towards the bottom, you'll see the major donors. While this Facebook is the most popular, do you consider this really a grassroots patient advocacy group for rosacea? Are they engaging in rosacea research like you want, or do you want something different? All right, now the next Facebook group that's the second most popular on Facebook is the Rosacea Support Group. Well, what's interesting about this group is it says very clearly on this Facebook page that this is a non-profit organization, right? And if you'll notice the domain, rosaceasupport.org, that points to David Pascoe's website. And below it, it says it's non-profit. As far as known, though, the Rosacea Support Group is not registered as a non-profit. This is kind of odd that David would do this, saying he's non-profit, when on his website he clearly has affiliate links. He's receiving money from rosacea treatment companies, and he is making money. But, okay, what's he doing with that money? If he's non-profit, does he reveal what he's doing with the money? Is this really a rosacea patient advocacy group that is taken seriously by the medical community? I'll let you answer that question. Okay, the third most popular Facebook social media group is Rosacea Facts. And guess what Rosacea Facts is? It's a site sponsored by the pharmaceutical company Galderma. And it has 18,000 followers. Now, do you think that's a grassroots patient advocacy group? The third most popular is Rosacea Spanish, and it says it's a group of 6,000 followers. And of course, if you'd have to use Google Translate to find out more, but it is the third. And then finally, we have Rosacea Awareness. Now, this is an interesting Facebook group that has 13,000 followers. So actually, it's in third place. So when you look at it, it links to studykick.com, which is a site for clinical trials. Can't really figure out if this is profit or nonprofit, but probably it's profit. It's because when you go to the official website, studykick.com, it follows clinical trials, and it's aimed here at rosacea clinical trials. So, do you think this is a community of grassroots? No, it's run by some company that is trying to get rosacea sufferers to go to clinical trials. Now we go to Instagram. Okay, if you can figure out, now I will admit I can't figure this out. I went to Instagram and I tried to figure out, okay, where are all the Rosaceans on Instagram? They got 1 billion members. Okay, they must be there, right? So I found out there's certain groups. It's called Rosacea, the Spanish one, Rosacea Treatment, Rosacea Skincare, and there's a long list, right? You can just keep going. But it doesn't explain how many followers. I can't figure it out. Now, if you can help me on that, that would be a big help. But obviously there are some Rosaceans there, but I don't know. The one that I did find was the National Rosacea Society has an Instagram account. They don't have very many followers, 255 followers, right? So, and we already discussed the National Rosacea Society. The other big social media platform that Rosaceans are at is Reddit. It's really popular. And when you go over to Reddit, some of the groups that discuss rosacea are skincare addiction, 30 plus skincare, medical, Accutane, OS skincare, and there's the numbers. I posted them for you. And there are others. We could go through a long list. Reddit is very popular with Rosaceans. Okay, but one particular group that I want to discuss that's probably very popular, it has almost 22,000 members, is that thing, Rosacea. And here's a picture of it. And now, who's running this? Okay, now think about it. You're in a group with 21,000, 22,000 other Rosaceans. Who is running this? Okay, think about that. Try to think. Okay, let's look at the moderators. Well, here's a list of the moderators. Who are these guys? Okay, they're hiding behind cryptic display names. Do they reveal who they really are? No, of course not. Is this the rosacea patient advocacy group that you want to belong to, that's going to have a united voice for the medical community? This group, Reddit, Rosacea? I can't believe that people let these guys do this. But anyway, that's what's going on. So then I went to Snapchat and tried to do a search on Snapchat. Obviously, there's Rosaceans over there, but I couldn't figure it out. You'll have to help me. I don't know how many are on Snapchat. And then finally I went to, not finally, but Twitter. I went to Twitter, and there are all sorts of tweets come up when you type in rosacea. right? But I couldn't figure out Twitter either. But obviously there's rosaceans on Twitter, but there's no way to like figure it out. And then I did find the National Rosacea Society on Twitter, and they have 3,000 followers, right? So I don't know. You think Twitter is the place to be? And then Pinterest seems to have a lot of rosacea activity, because when you go into Pinterest and type in rosacea, you come up with these groups. There's a whole bunch of groups, but what I found out that the number one, because they show statistics. The number one is Talented Lex, who's a beauty blogger, and she has rosacea, and she has 9,000 followers, working on 10,000. The second one is May Lindstrom Skin, who she says she has a lifelong battle with severe eczema and perioral dermatitis. And she has about 2.6 thousand followers. The third one on that list is Claire Balcom, who doesn't explain who she is, but has almost 2,000 followers. And she has a page called Rosacea Sensitive Skincare, with lots of over-the-counter rosacea treatments for you to examine. And probably she's making money on this, I guess. Now, do you know of any other boards on Pinterest that I have left out? Hey, let me know. You know, you can, in this thread, you can post and comment what you think I should be discussing about Pinterest. And then finally, I went to LinkedIn. I couldn't find anything on LinkedIn. Obviously, Rosaceans use LinkedIn, because there's. I typed in rosacea. The only thing I could come up with is the Acne and Rosacea Association UK. It had 57 members. And that was interesting to me, because it was formed by Professor Tony Chu, who is very popular with rosaceans. And the other one that I found was Rosacea Care, which has a line of rosacea products. And then there was another one, PCA, that has a lot of rosacea treatments too. And they had 600 members. But there's really not much happening with rosacea patient advocacy on LinkedIn. So this is my in-depth investigation of where all the rosaceans have gone. And if they're happy with this, being on Facebook mostly and Reddit and doing their posts and showing pictures of their rosacea and asking, is this rosacea? That's basically, and they talk about certain products, but they don't want to unite to have any voice in a united effort as a nonprofit organization to try to influence the medical community to do rosacea research that they want done. Hey, stay with social media, because that's what we're trying to do here at the RRDI, and we need you to think about this, and that's why I made this video. And this is like a last-ditch effort to help you to be aware of where all the rosaceans have gone.